This is Frederick Watts.
This is Gene Watts. And this is Love in 60 Seconds.
We have been married for over 20 years.
And in that time, we have learned a few things that we'd like to share with you.
So if you're single, newlyweds, or seasoned in marriage, we think you will enjoy the upcoming program.
Absolutely. And we want you to like, engage, share, and do all of those wonderful things that we do on Instagram, Facebook, and every other social media outlets. Send us DMs. We want to hear from you.
This is
Love in 60 Seconds.
60 seconds. Love in 60. Love in 60 seconds.
Hello, everybody. A good early evening, earlier than we usually are on. And I am here in the Detroit metropolitan area. And Mr. Watts where are you, honey?
Hey, I'm in Dublin, Ireland tonight. So we're
Okay.
checking on and trying to do this from halfway across the world. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Some of you may be catching us live, and then some of you may be catching us at our normal time on the replay.
Yes.
So we're so happy to have you guys this evening.
Yeah. So we're not gonna hold up time. We're gonna kind of just get right into it. Our topic tonight is the F word. So
Yeah. What an exciting topic.
yeah, well, you came up with the topic, so why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah. Well, we talked about the F word tonight, and we on our post it said it was something that will change the way you look at relationships. And for Love in 60 Seconds, we really try to talk about topics that really help build relationships, build blocks, build walls, but help you move forward. So the F word tonight is forgiveness.
Absolutely. That is the most important F word, even though my stomach still got nervous. But that is because I'm so churchy and so language sensitive. But it is forgiveness, and it is something that we cannot not have as a part of our relationship and a part of our marriages. If you don't have forgiveness, you're not going to make it. You're
Right.
you're not going to make it.
Right.
So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it tonight, and we're going to talk about the importance of, and the biggest thing is people are often saying, okay, you need to forgive. This is what you need to do. And that is great. And it's easy to do in theory, but it's not necessarily, done easily in practice. So we're going to give you some tips tonight on how to do that, and kind of just the how to process that process of forgiveness, how to process the pain, how to process handling it, how to process seeing what's there, and kind of go from there. So we're going to do that, and we'll get to it.
So if you're watching us live, please chat with us. We love to talk to you and see. We can see tonight. And if you're watching on the replay, please make sure you like and share this with somebody, and maybe somebody that can help. And it doesn't have to be just in marriage. It's all types of relationships. Being able to conquer the F word in your relationships is important, whether you're dating, whether you're married, whether you're talking to your dealing with your spouse or your family, your parents, all those things. Forgiveness is a key to a successful relationship.
Absolutely is. And we're going to get ready to get into it and talk about that process of forgiveness. So if somebody, let's just, in this particular instance, even though we're talking, this can apply to anyone, but if we're talking about within relationships, with your spouse, and if your spouse offends you, your spouse hurts you, your spouse betrays you, that is difficult, because a person that's closest to you is going to, that's going to inflict the most pain. Somebody who you don't really love, or you don't really care that much about, that's not going to hurt like that. But somebody that you care about, that you've been vulnerable to, exposed yourself to, been there, y'all been in the trenches, or whatever the case is, you committed yourself and you said for better, for worse, to this person. And then when the worst pops up, that's kind of a bust. You know, I'm sorry.
So
Yeah, go
no,
ahead.
no. I'm just gonna say your first note you were talking about. Well, that's not something that's very important. What is forgiveness natural or is it unnatural?
Well,
Or
forgiveness definitely does not come naturally. It's not like, oh, you did something. It's okay. It's all good. You're in a situation where you have the right to be angry. You
Mhm.
have the right to be angry. You have the right to hold a grudge. You have the right to be mad, but you surrender that right, and that because of that, forgiveness is oftentimes supernatural. It takes God in order to surrender your right to be mad, to be angry with this person, to hold this person accountable for their actions. And I'm not saying that you don't hold that person accountable. You do, and that we've taught about that before, but we're just talking about the basic principle of it, or the basic
Mhm.
premise of it. Um, you give up that right to be really angry. You give up that right to hold it against that person.
True.
So, yeah,
So, in that aspect, for a human being to give that up, it almost takes a supernatural interaction to do that
absolutely.
because you don't want to do it.
No,
You've been hurt, you've been offended, and that's your right. But you give up that right to be angry when you use the F word.
absolutely. You want to be like, and sometimes you want to use others' words that makes not
Mhm.
I forgive you, but you might want to say something else. So, but you don't. Where some people do, and it's it is what it is. But with regard to that, you know, you want to make sure that you are present in your feelings, that you're not, being unrealistic about the way that you feel, because a lot of people feel like forgiveness is just like, oh, you just suppress all the hurt and all of that, and just move forward. No, that's not a part of it. But there is a pretty much a straightforward process to managing and walking in forgiveness. We're going to break it down into like four simple steps to kind of to simplify it, but we have other teaching on forgiveness that goes more in depth. This one is just kind of a simple process to kind of get you started on the right path to learn how to go through the stages of forgiveness.
Okay. I like that. So you talked about, or we're going to talk about, there are four stages of forgiveness. And does it necessarily mean that it's in a certain order? Not necessarily, but this is sort of the process that when you decide to forgive or that you're dealing with forgiveness, these are usually the four stages that you go through. And what I find interesting, especially when you're dealing with a hurt or a pain, is like the stages come at different time, and some you're able to conquer easier than others, right?
Mhm,
Because these are our emotions that you're
mhm.
dealing with, and but it's very important. Just like you hear like the four stages of grief, right? But
Yeah,
you be able to identify what these stages are, because when you're able to master these stages, you're able to really walk in an area of forgiveness. So the four stages of forgiveness, what are those?
well, the first thing that you put them all up there is hurt, hate,
Okay.
hook, and heal. So the first thing that happens when somebody is offended, or the offender offends the spouse or the other person, is the hurt.
Okay.
You realize something has happened. They spent all the money. There's been some type of betrayal, or maybe infidelity, or whatever the case is. Embarrassment, disrespect, whatever it is, you have that hurt. Um, but you got to label that hurt as
Okay.
specifically as you can. Like, you got to be like, okay, this is the thing, and you got to think back to really what caused that feeling. Like, you really embarrassed me in front of our neighbors, or you
Mm,
really did, or if it's something big, a bigger thing, you really disrespected me in front of our children, or you um stepped out of our relationship, you stepped out of the marriage. That
mm,
can cause excruciating hurt. and
mhm.
and you can't just like wash over it. You got to deal with it. You got to acknowledge
Right.
who did this to you, when did it occur, where did it happen,
Mhm.
what was so painful about it, and why do you feel violated or betrayed.
Mm,
The who, what, when, where, and why of that.
yeah. Yeah, that's good. And you have to address those feelings. And like you said, when you say label them, that means not only label them to yourself, but when you're dealing with forgiveness in marriage, that means being able to communicate how you hurt and those feelings to your spouse and being able to have an open communication of why. Like you said, the who, what, when, where, and why. It's very important because just because if you say, well, if I'm labeling it, but if I don't address it, then you're really not able to get to the root. You're not going to be able to get to forgiveness because you're not being open with talking your feelings out. You got to be able to talk them out and you got to be able to express them because that's part of that healing process.
Absolutely. And when that wound is fresh, it's going to be a whole lot of I'm dealing with this situation here because that wound is fresh and it's going to be playing over in your mind. You're going to keep, rehashing it. And the offender has to have patience in dealing with that, and patience with that healing. And if you bring it up a number of times, you shouldn't be beating nobody over the head with what happened. You know what I'm saying? You got to let
Right.
that part go. But it does take a minute sometimes, depending on the level of offense. It takes a minute to process that. And it's going to take some reassurance and some rebuilding, and it's going to take some healing. So we're going to get to the healing, but let's go to the next thing, which is funny, but so very true. Um,
So the next one, which is really hate.
it is.
um, and so
You're gonna
after
hate
you've
the
been hurt,
person.
yeah, you probably are. If you're dealing with somebody who has walked in infidelity or walked in any type of area that's trust has been broken, from your finances to abuse or anything
Mhm.
smaller or better, you're gonna hate. But it's really I like the notes that you had on that. If you want to share what you're hating, because that is very important.
Right. Again, we said, hate, if you've been hurt, you're gonna oftentimes there's gonna be some hate there. But the thing is, it's not wrong to hate, but the fact is that you're supposed to hate what God hates. So we're supposed to hate what God hates, but we hate the sin, we hate the offense, but not the people. We hate
Right.
the offense, we don't hate the people. So it's wrong for us to hate the person. We can't be like, I hate my spouse because they did this to me. Well, you hate the sin, but not the sinner. So you
Mhm.
have to make that distinction um, to be sure that the hate is directed towards the right target. You know what I'm saying? The majority of the time, your spouse um, didn't intentionally mean to hurt you. They didn't wake up that morning and said, I'm about to go and just uh be a knucklehead and do whatever to my spouse. Sometimes they do wake up and say, okay, this is the day I'm gonna make a dumb decision.
Right.
But there
Sure.
was a path that led to that. They don't
Mm.
just instantaneously wake up and make a bad decision a lot of times. Sometimes there's a series of events that lead up to that. And even if it does, that was really not their intention. They got to a place where they were not thinking, that the enemy hoodwinked them and bamboozled them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened. You have to hate the adversary that tricked them or
Right.
made a fool out of them or whatever it was. You got to hate that and not the person. You really need to pity the person because they're the ones that's honestly been made a fool out of, whether
And
they
that
realize it or not.
and that's important when we go back to forgiveness does not come natural. It is natural to want to hate the person, but
Yeah.
not want to hate the event or what they've done. And so, believe it or not, why we're bringing that up is that because once you've been angry, if you don't adjust your hate to what it was and not the person, then you're not going to be able to get to forgiveness. You're going to be stuck at this stage because you're not dealing with the issue you're dealing with the emotional part of looking at that person, dealing with the person of what they did, but not hating what they did. And that's very, very important.
Yep. So you got to make sure that you're not hating the person, that you're not focused on hating the person. Again, um, the way that you do that though is you have to look at them through the lens of God's eye and the eye
Mhm.
of His grace, because His grace is sufficient, because His grace and His mercy has um, been effective in your life and you have experienced it or hope to experience it. That's how we have to look at that person. through that grace and through that mercy, and then through that the eyes of pity that, dang, the enemy made a fool out of them and they did not know. You know what I'm saying? So hard to do, but that is the focus that you have to have, because if you don't look at it that way, you will look at that person and be like, this person is an absolute chump, and I cannot believe, as good as I've been to them all their lives, this is how they repay that. But they're not trying to repay you for your goodness. It's God that's going to, number one, repay you for your goodness. But you got to make sure that you know that it was the serpent, just like the serpent beguiled Eve. Basically, because the translation could have said the serpent's bamboozled, hoodwinked, made a fool out of Eve when he was talking to her in the garden. And left unattended, that spouse left unattended, or whatever the case is, got tricked. And it was a costly mistake, because Adam was mad at her too. You know what I'm saying? He was like, it was that woman that you gave me. When God asked, like, who told you, that she was gonna be naked? It's like that woman. He didn't even say Eve. He didn't say, oh, woman, womb, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, all mushy like he was before. He was pretty upset about what had happened. So, anyways.
So when we're talking about the 4 stages of forgiveness, we said number 1 was hurt, number 2 was hate, number 3 is interesting. We said it was hook, and really what the hook is acknowledging that you acknowledge that the deceptive feeling of control. And great topic, or I guess I'll start it off, is that if you refuse to forgive in a way that if you don't. Normally when you're mad or you're hurt, when you don't want to forgive, it's because you want to have power over the situation. And when we're talking about hook, that can be deceptive because it becomes harmful, because you are not releasing forgiveness. You're actually holding on to power.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta, you gotta resist because you want to, when you've been hurt, you feel like you lose control. Mm-hmm. Like you lost your womanhood, you lost your manhood, you've been hit, and you lost control of the situation. So holding a grudge, and not, being, forgiving, you know what I'm saying? You have to cover your own sense of hurt and vulnerability. And so you feel like, all right, I'm not forgive you. I'm gonna be mad at you. I'm gonna give you the silent treatment. I'm, tell all our friends that you're a jerk, those kind of things. And that's really not applicable. Those are not things that you should be doing. You got to handle it a different way. You got to refuse to be a victim. Okay, this has happened. I hate it. I don't hate my spouse. I hate what happened. This is dumb. I gotta move past this, and I'm gonna cancel this person's debt. This is hard because a lot of times you got to cancel the debt, even if they don't repent towards you, even if they don't turn, if they don't repent. You got to learn how to cancel the debt.
Wait, you said I got to cancel the debt, even if my spouse continue to do what I'm forgiving them for, because they're not there yet.
You got to cancel the debt, and that's hard, but you got to cancel the debt.
Yeah.
And, now I'm saying sometimes you cancel the debt, and if they just never, ever get better, then that's a whole nother thing. You got to get some help, or, what I'm saying? It's a whole nother thing, but you got to cancel that debt for that offense. Now, hopefully that person is apologetic. They are repentive, not just sorry, because being sorry is one thing. I'm sorry that this happened. I'm sorry I got caught. I'm sorry that we're in this situation. But repentant is they are sorry and they turn away. That's a whole different thing. So they're either sorry or they're sorry and repentant. And we want them to be, repentant. But you got to cancel that debt. Why do we have to cancel that debt?
Yeah, because God canceled your debt, and we have to approach it that way. And because this forgiveness is not for them, it's for us. Absolutely. It's for us to be able to heal, to move on regardless. It's for your peace of mind. It's for your heart.
Yes.
It's for all those things. So you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to move on with life and move forward. if you dwell in this, and it does not mean that in situations big or small that you're not going to remember, and that you're not maybe even have a day where you go back to the offense or that is drawn up. And then that's a way that the enemy works, that he will try to bring those things back up to try to get you out of forgiveness. But if you are able to cancel the debt and move on with life, then the point that is really important is that you allow God to issue justice. And you don't mean sick 'em, God, but that
God, you saw what they did. Let them die tomorrow.
that justice, especially for your spouse, could be the justice of a repentant heart, a justice of reconciliation for whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that let him, issue justice or mercy as he sees fit. You know what I'm saying? Because God's going to deal with the heart. Man look on the outward appearance, but God looks on the heart. So your spouse may have done something really, really dumb, but on the outward appearance, you want to judge them and be like, why did you, where's your Jesus? Where's your Holy Ghost? Or where's your integrity? Or where's your whatever? Why did you do this? You are an awful person. But God looks at the heart. You know what I'm saying? And he looks at the fact that, okay, my child has been made a fool out of by the enemy yet again. You know what I'm saying? Or my child is seriously, my child is just not listening. And this is what happens. Just like as a parent, when your child does something, you'll tell your child over and over again, don't do that. Don't touch that oven. It's hot. And they go, okay, I'm not going to touch it. And then they go up and touch it and then they burn. And you're looking at your child, you crying with them because you feel so sad that they did not listen. You know what I'm saying? That they didn't listen to you the first time. God is crying with your spouse. He's weeping with them because the enemy, did what he did. So revenge may feel good for a time, but don't go, boss up on nobody, try to shoot nobody. You know what I'm saying? Don't, because it ultimately doesn't work. Revenge does not work. The pain that you issue to somebody is not going to take away your pain. It just is not going to do that. Trust me, you want to put a pillow over their face in the middle of the night. Okay, I get it. But, that's not going to free you. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to cancel the pain that you've received.
And
you got to get that away and let God do it.
And the reason why that's so important for the believer and even for the non-believer, but especially for the believer, is because if you don't allow God to deal with it, we're talking about forgiveness. We're talking about being able to forgive. But if you administer justice, which is even right, you're right to do it, but you don't allow God to do it, then you can't get the final and last step, which is healing. If you issue your justice to your spouse and don't let, God do it, then you won't be able to walk in this type of forgiveness because you'll never be able to heal. Because that portion of this part of that is very important. Is making sure, especially when you hear the world saying, people say hurt people, because if you're issuing justice, you're hurting that person that you love, and that won't allow healing.
Absolutely. Not only does it not allow healing, but it hinders God from forgiving you. If you don't forgive, it really hinders God from forgiving you because you don't see things in the light of God's word. You don't see things in the light of God's what he's done for you. And like here daily, I have been God is just having me to just remember daily like what he's done on the cross, what he did on Calvary, just daily remembering, that he died for our sins, that he died for our healing, he died for our peace. Just daily remembering that. But I can't partake in that if I don't make every effort to walk in forgiveness. I'm not going to say that forgiveness is easy. I had a conversation with somebody today that I have forgiven, but like some of the sting of what they did, or what hurt me is still there. It's still there. I love this person, would go to the wall for them. This person is my family. I would do anything for this person, but like that process I'm still working through that process of the hurt that was inflicted. So I got to make sure though that I am walking in forgiveness, because I can't, let something that I can't let go make me miss, God. So.
Right.
Four
So
things.
as we wrap this up, the four stages of forgiveness are hurt, hate, hook, and heal. And we just want you to remember that forgiveness is both an action, it's an action because it's an event, and it's also a noun because it's a process.
Mm.
So it's just something that just because you have hooked today and you healed yesterday, you might still not have conquered hate the part, being able to give what God hates, and you may not be able to conquer the hurt. So it's the event that takes time, and it's a process that takes time. So, when you have good days, thank God for it, but you will have bad days, but we do believe that you're an overcomer. And so when we're talking about the F word and dealing with forgiveness, you just have to be patient. You have to be patient as the person that's been offended. And then if you are the offender and this person is dealing with forgiveness, you have to have patience as you move forward in their healing. You know what I'm saying? You have to be, if they say, I forgive you today, and then next week they pull your ear because you want to rip it off, you can't go back and throw that at them and be like, see,
Yeah.
you're not ready. You didn't do this. You're
Yeah,
not ready.
never forgive me.
You're the offended. You're the offender. You have to have grace in that area, because
Absolutely.
when you're able to do that, you're able to complete the stages of forgiveness.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're able to help your spouse get through that. I can hear your bracelets, baby. You got to help your spouse be able to get through, and ideally, humble yourself. If you're the offender, you humble yourself and help your spouse get through it. If they continue to have um, conversations, because conversations bring closure. So if they have
Mhm.
to continue to have conversations, because the thing is, like for example, if you never talk about fully how you felt, how whatever it is that they offended you in, how that made you feel, like you went and spent all of the money and you left us without anything, so that made me feel abandoned. That made me feel like I wasn't important, that me and the family, we weren't important to you. Whatever it is, or if it was, whatever the situation is, if you're not able to discuss that and hash it out and get those feelings out, um, and then those feelings, it's really helpful if they be acknowledged and paid attention to, because if they are, then that's helpful. That's helpful in the healing process, because it lets that person feel understood, that help that person feel heard, and it helps that person kind of get through that pain. But if somebody's communicating with you and you're the offender, because it's not um how you hear it, it's or how they perceive it, it's how they perceive it, it's not how you give it. So you got to give it in a way that they perceive it in the right way. You got to give that love, you got to give that grace in a way that they perceive it, because regardless of how you said something or how you did something, if they were offended, then you got to come back and fix the offense or be a part of the solution of the offense. Giving forgiveness to the offender is an event, like you said, and finding relief from your pain is a process. It more than likely is going to take time. Now, God can come in and instantaneously take it away, but for the most part, it's a process. It's a process. It takes time to heal from wounds. They say that, like, if a person, if you go through infidelity, that it takes like 8 years to be able to fully heal from that. That's a long time and too much time for somebody to do that. So don't do it. Okay. 8 years is too long to be having to keep having that conversation. But you may have to keep having that conversation for 8 years
Right.
in order for
Yeah.
that person to really be healed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Good stuff. Looks like our internet is going down, so I sort of want to wrap this up. And
Okay.
I like what you said in some of our note, that forgiveness is the road to freedom. It
Yeah.
is a process. It does take time, but when you put it into the context, especially at what we believe as believers, and try to forgive as Christ has forgiven, it makes that process easier.
Yeah.
So we want to, like I said, we're halfway across the world today. I'm in wherever I'm at. I can't
Ireland.
even.
You're in Ireland.
Yeah, thank you. I'm in Ireland, and you're back there in
Mhm.
Michigan. But and so that's why we came on a little earlier, because it's 2 a.m. here, almost, or somewhere, something like that. So we appreciate you guys tuning in today. Normally we are on at 8:30 on Mondays. So if you are watching this live, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this later, we appreciate you tuning in. Please like and share this with somebody. We didn't make it on Instagram today, but follow us at Wattsup Entertainment on Instagram. We're at Wattsup Entertainment on Facebook, and at Wattsup Video on YouTube. We are praying for you. We hope that this is a blessing. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us a DM, shoot us out during the week and talk to us. Ben Brown is watching tonight, man. We appreciate you tuning in. You know, we appreciate and we pray blessings over you and your family.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we appreciate.
Yeah, all of those that have been watching, make sure that you keep your heart open to God for healing. And one day you'll wake up and the pain will be less and less, and then one day you'll wake up and it'll be completely gone, and you'll be praying for that person, with love and grace and peace.
It was awesome. So this is Frederick and Gene Watts, and this is 1160 Seconds. We'll see you guys next Monday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. All right, be blessed.
All right, bye, baby.
Well, guys, we have to wrap it up this evening. We really hope that you've enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, this conversation has been amazing, and we want you to tune in again next time so that we can discuss more of these amazing topics and these topics of interest. Then don't forget to DM us, contact us, reach out to us, and we will definitely respond back.
If this has been 1160 Seconds, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
All right, good night, everybody.
60 seconds.